Jingle, 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 jingle all the way. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A day or two ago, I thought I'd take a ride. Soon his standing pride was seated by my side. The horse was lean and lank, misfortune seemed his lot. He got into a drifting bank and we caught a sigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. A one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
Hi, and thank you for tuning in. It's Tony from Farmore Coy. Not much to really see at this time of year, but I did venture out this morning into the garden just to check on the pond and my tanks inside. It was very cold this morning, not as bad as some of you are suffering, I know, but my thermometer seems to be lying to me about the outside temperature. I don't know what's wrong with it, but there's the fish at the moment. They're just sort of sitting mid water. They seem okay, quite happy. I've got no ice on the pond. I've got some ice around the shower, but on the whole I'm okay with that. But the temperature of the pond, there it is, a 1.3 degrees C, but certainly it wasn't 4.6 degrees C outside. It was a reasonably large minus number, so I don't know what's going on with that. You can see the ice on the greenhouse windows, and the greenhouse is actually being semi-heated by these two tanks at the moment. These tanks are sitting at around 20 degrees C. There you go, 19.4 and 21.5. That's the tank I use for water changes into this tank, so that I don't have big temperature changes. Anyway, today I'm off to the farm Rent Audit Lunch in my old workplace. I thought maybe you'd like a little tour. It's in the middle of Oxford, and it's one of the biggest colleges, Christchurch. So I'll just catch the bus. The Rent Audit Lunch is an annual event that I go to. Christchurch invites all their farm tenants around the country. They've got about 45 farms all around, and it's traditionally when the farmers would have come into college to pay their rent. Of course, that's not done now. That was the days before banks. They'd bring in a big sack of cash and pay the college their rent for the year. But now it's just a tradition to carry on invite them in for lunch. So I've got into Oxford. I'm just got to walk through Oxford, and in the distance there you can see the tower for the college I used to work for. I retired in 2014, so more or less 8 years ago, and so this is Tom Tower and the front entrance to the college. I've been retired so long now, I should probably be stopped at the gate. Nobody seems to know me anymore. But never mind, I'm sure I'll be able to make my way in. So this is Tom Quad. That's the canonries along there. Where the tower is the deanery. The spire is the cathedral, the smallest cathedral in the country. That's Hall, the Great Hall. That's where I'll be dining a little later. And this, I'm sorry, I thought I was going to be able to show you a little treat here, because this is normally a fantastic pond, but unbeknown to me, they've emptied it. So it's empty, just got a bit of water that's frozen over in the bottom. Used to have a statue of Mercury on the top, made of lead, Mercury, and so they're getting it under repair. Apparently they gave all the fish away to a local school that happens to have some sort of moat round it, and so I suppose they'll be starting to think about restocking it when they've done the refurbishment. The filming doesn't give it justice of the size of this circular pond. I carried out a refurbishment of the pond about 10 years ago, not long before I left, but I'm afraid I wasn't given the funding that I would have liked, because I only really sorted out the fountain with Mercury, and literally there was just a pump in the pond in a dustbin with some jack mat in, and that was because crayfish was getting in the pump and blocking it all up, so that was all sorted out. But I wanted a budget to dig a big hole and put some proper underground filtration in, but the treasurer wouldn't let me do it. He didn't understand why it needed it, because the pond had been like it for hundreds of years. So that was the end of that one. This is the great staircase leading up to Hall. Some bits of Harry Potter was filmed on this staircase, and part of my job at the time was to keep Warner Brothers under control, because they're very prone to take over the place where they're filming, and very often you end up with all sorts of damage being done, and these stone walls, you weren't even allowed to put a screw in them unless you got permission from the local authority under the Preservation Trust, so very limiting really. Anyway, this is going into Hall. At this time of the day, it's actually open to the public to have a wander round. Beautiful hall. It's the biggest dining hall in college dining hall in Oxford. This area is all set out for our lunch a little bit later on. And beyond that is high table, where all the senior members normally sit. And then the tables nearest the high table, you end up with graduates, and then beyond that you have the ordinary students. In Christchurch, we, funny enough, we don't have dons. Dons are called students at Christchurch, so we end up having to call them senior members and the students junior members, otherwise it all gets very confusing. It has got the nickname of the house because it was considered to be the Houses of Parliament when King Charles took refuge there before Cromwell caught up with him and chopped his head off. But it was where he conducted the business for the country at that time, so it's called the House. The Queen was the visitor to the house. Now, of course, it's the king. So King Charles III is a visitor to Christchurch. So I'll make my way back down the stairs. As I say, Harry Potter was filmed on this stairs, and just outside there was a snow scene as well in Tom Quad. A lot of people believe that Harry Potter was filmed in our hall, but in actual fact Warner Brothers had a hall created identical to it, or practically identical to it, at Pinewood Studios for those shots. Very cold day, but beautiful day. So this is the entrance to the cathedral. This is the only cathedral in the country that's not owned by the church, but it's owned by the college, and it doubles up as the college chapel. It's also the smallest cathedral in the country. Carried out a lot of work over the years in the cathedral. Some of it quite difficult. Lighting schemes, public address and sound systems were done. We had some difficult stonework to do in the up at the roof levels. But it's a beautiful, beautiful building. Another thing I used to get annually invited to was the Christmas carols, and they had probably still got, I should say, a world famous choir that's toured the world. Beautiful ceiling. I do have to apologise for the pond again. I thought I would have spent quite some time round that pond, because although in the cold weather we probably wouldn't have seen much of the fish, and the lilies that usually cover the pond would have been down. In fact, I feel that the pond has been neglected quite a bit. Probably that's why they're having to refurbish it. Part of my remit is to manage the gardeners as well, and of course we used to, I didn't, but gardeners used to get in there and cut all the lily pads off and clear them out and whatnot, but I fear that that's one of the things that's not being done now, and of course rather large lilies, and they all die down and rot at the bottom, and I suspect that the pond has got into quite a state. So it's actually nice that they're doing a refurbishment. I just hope there's going to be somebody to look after it that needs to either learn or know about fish. It's quite interesting because we had some visiting herons, and they used to sit on the rooftops and look down and wait until anybody that was near the pond had walked away, and they'd swoop down and get their breakfast and also their evening meal. It used to come at the same time every day, but to be quite honest, the pond was so overstocked, and there'd been so many natural spawnings in there But there was koi and goldfish and all sorts of stuff in there really, but the loss of a few of the smaller fish to a heron didn't hurt that pond at all really. It did upset me once when one of the larger koi got stabbed, mind you, but again nobody tended it, it just healed by itself, almost had its own natural ecosystem because it's so large. Such beautiful stained glass windows and objects, and the high altar. This is the watchtower. Apparently people used to sit up there and make sure everybody was praying properly, watching down on them. Nobody around the corner that's praying. There's a section here, this little chapel I'm going to go in now, around the corner, is set aside for private prayer when the public is in, or at any time really, so you have to respect that, but there's nobody in here at the moment except for a visitor looking round. But I want to take you down to this stained glass window at the end, because it's quite amusing really. It's a Victorian window, and it's the only window in a church that I've ever seen that's got, I'm zooming in, a pink toilet in the corner with a curtain in front of it. Always amuses me, that does. It's like a Welsh dresser there and a pink toilet and a curtain to pull across in the corner of a stained glass window. I wonder who decided to do that in that design. That's the St Bridewhide's shrine. There is a window in Christchurch that's got a little portrait of Thomas Becket that survives, which is quite unusual because it was everything to do with him was meant to have been destroyed during the Reformation. This quad looks beautiful when the sun's shining. You can see here again the arches and the staunchings there, which are signs of when it was going to be a full cloister all the way around. That would have been quite something all the way around that quad. Largest quad in Oxford. As I say, they're called courts in Cambridge. Sundial, used to have to keep that painted up regularly. This area here is called Kilcannon, and it's the building to the left is Kilcannon. The one to the right we're going past now is the new library. it's not really so new, but in college there's also an old library. The old library has been vacated and made into student accommodation, and this was the new library, said to have taken 75 years to build, but everything progresses very slowly in Christchurch. This is Peckwater Quad. Lots of rooms. There's probably 1,000 rooms in college, and when I first went there was only a dozen or so baths in the basement for them. When it was a men-only college, and when women were brought in, they suffered the same facilities for years and years. And I mean, during the years I was there, we more or less en-suited every room to quite a high standard, to a hotel standard. So as I say, there's about 1,000 rooms. Not all of them are en-suited, but probably 80% of them are en-suite. Others have shared facilities. That's the new library. The bottom section that's in the darker sort of stone was open at one time, and it was like a walk under gallery area, but it was filled in, and to each side of that door, that's the student working libraries, and upstairs is more of a historic archive library. Used to have lots of filming around college for Morse when it was being on the telly. That's a beautiful building. The college is well known for Alice in Wonderland. There's been some major films that parts were made here. That's the back gate. This is Canterbury Quad. Just there is the picture gallery. That's an underground gallery, very modern design. I won't go in there because being a picture gallery, they don't like any filming whatsoever. This passageway was newly created a few years back, going through into the most modern buildings at the college, and this is called Blue Boar Quad. The building you're going to see in a moment, as I say, quite modern. Blue Boar always had problems with plumbing, with leaking roofs, with failing electrics, and in this picture it looks as if it's a concrete building, but it is in actual fact stone. It's Portland stone, shelly bed, so if you see it close up you can see all the little creatures and fossils and whatnot in the stone. It's quite an interesting stone when you do see it close up. This particular building, it must be going on 15 years ago now, had 13 million spent on it. I was in the camp that wanted to knock it down and build something a bit decent, but I lost that one. This is the cathedral garden, just outside the cloisters. lead will spire again from another direction. And this little feature here, you can see that there's a lead tub there with an olive tree in it, and then there's this big lead tub here, and it's got a little water feature in it bubbling away, and to look at it you think, well, that's easy, that's just a pump in the bottom and it's recirculating. Well, believe it or not, there's a whole filtration system for that that's about 15 yards away, with a holding tank and a pump, and it's even got a 4-inch return going back to it. It's got a UV in it, and gets pumped back in there. So I'm afraid that was a bit of me. We had lots of these water features at different times that failed in Christchurch, and I said, well, you get the designer in for the tub and whatnot, the artist for that, and I'll design the pumping and pipe work for it. And I said, I'll make sure that one doesn't go wrong. It's been going for years and years, so thankfully I got that one right. Chapter House, that was the college shop at one time, and they wanted to get it back into use, but I see it's all locked up at the moment, so I don't know what they're using that for at the moment. But a project was done in the meadow to create a shop and visitor centre, which is where I'll be heading for pre-lunch drinks, which is very nice, and there's a little talk as well about the Christchurch farms and the way Christchurch used to, and other landowners used to define their ownership of the land. Apparently, instead of having maps with drawn out boundaries on it, if you go back in the centuries, it used to all be done by text, and so it was the third stone on the right, and down to the fifth stone on the left was a certain character's land, and very confusing. And eventually they had to get plans drawn. This is the broad walk, and it's on the edge of the meadow. The land, as far as you can see, is Christchurch. This is Meadow Buildings. That's the public entrance where you pay your money to go in and have a look round. That's the barn where the new shop and visitor centre is, where I'm going to be going in a moment for drinks. The meadow is about 40 acres, and the far side is bounded by the River Thames, where we've got a string of boat houses, and the 8 racing goes on. So I'm going into the lecture. That's now cut away. This is the start of the lunch. I just about got away with filming that bit. I think somebody spotted me, but never mind. So, with lunch over, it's time for me to, after having several glasses of wine and a few glasses of port, try and make my way down the stairs without falling down them. I'm amazed at the camera phone, how light it makes everything. It's now about 5 o'clock in the evening and it's getting dark, but the sky looks lit up, but you can see all the lights on in the quad there, but it looks like daytime and that's getting dark. It's incredible. So I'm going to make my way back through Oxford, catch the bus. I used to park at, well, I was working at college when the Rent Audit Lunch went on, so my car was at college, so I could never have a drink really on my boss. So it's quite nice to go in on the bus and be able to partake of my old boss's drink as well as food. But, yeah, it was a nice function. I always used to do my Christmas shopping afterwards in the town, to go and get my wife's present after the farm Rent Audit. Anyway, I am so sorry this has been so long. If you have got here, thank you so much. I hope you found it of interest, and I do apologise that the pond wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It used to look beautiful, and I'm sure it will again. This is St Aldate's. They've got some lights up and whatnot for Christmas. Anyway, we're getting closer now to the end, and I'd just like to thank everybody who's subscribed to me to date. If you haven't subscribed, I shouldn't think you've got this far, to be honest, but if you haven't and you've enjoyed this, please do subscribe. And to everybody, I hope your ponds are okay with this severe weather, and I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you, and bye for now.